What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the 2024 Nissan Ariya. This one is the Empower Plus front wheel drive, finished off in the Boulder Gray. MSRP is about $50,400. So let's get right into Nissan's crossover electric vehicle, see what this thing is all about. Powering the 2024 Nissan Ariya, you're going to see an 87 kilowatt hour battery pack with a 178 kilowatt motor. This pumps out 238 horsepower with 221 pound-feet of torque, has a single-speed reduction gear, range is about 289 miles for this particular configuration, and then curb weight is 4,600 pounds. The overall length is 182.9 inches with a wheelbase at 109.3, width is 85.5, and height is 65.4 inches. Minimum ground clearance is also 7.1 inches. On to the styling with the Nissan Ariya. This is a pretty cool looking crossover SUV, especially in the Boulder Gray with all the black diamond accents. You got these really nice set of LED headlights, super thin with a massive daytime running light that cuts down into the grille. The grille itself has a texture behind it, and then it's a smoked plastic material, so it is nice and smooth. You got an illuminated Nissan badge up in front, parking sensors, as well as a functional inlet to let air pass through these front wheels. You can see LED fog lights down below, gloss black trim, more parking sensors, and then openings to provide some cooling to the electronics. Has a pretty cool futuristic style to it, and then I really like the sharp line on the hood that cuts its way towards that front end. So pretty cool, nice and smooth body lines as well. At the side profile, I like the fender flares. They kind of give it a wide body appearance. You also got a nice set of 19-inch wheels with this very aerodynamic spoke design. You have your charge port up in front, smooth body lines throughout the side, gloss black side skirt, and gloss black mirror caps. You can see an integrated camera, a little bit of chrome trim surrounding the windows, and then this has that two-tone design with the black on the roof. Up above, you're going to see the panoramic roof with two shark fin antennas, and then the side profile is pretty cool. It's a bit of a short and stubby looking crossover, very low overhangs front and back. But I like how it all comes together. It's a pretty cool looking car. You can see the integrated spoiler coming off the roof and a very sloped rear end. So it cuts downwards very sharp to the rear end of the car. You have Nissan written out inside of the rear taillight, a nice LED bar, smooth body lines down below, and then more gloss black on the rear diffuser. You have all your parking sensors, your logos, and a very smooth design for the liftgate to finish up the styling. Moving on to Nissan's key fob, you can see how you have all your buttons right here, lock, unlock, tailgate release. They are a little bit hard to see given they're all black, so a little bit of a challenge to actually see the buttons. Nonetheless, with the car unlocked or locked, you can just grab the door handle. Of course, it'll automatically unlock and you can get to the interior. This one has the leatherette interior. You're also going to see some micro suede throughout the seats. And then on the door panel, you have this leatherette material, ambient lighting, some soft touch plastic, good padding on your armrest with a grab handle, all of your window controls, mirror controls, lock and unlock. There's even memory seating, your release handle, and a little bit of storage down below. You have all your power controls for the driver's seat, the smooth material, and then I do like this micro suede with the perforations. They have a good look and feel to them, very comfortable. Nice design coming up to the headrests, and then a really unique two-spoke steering wheel with the perforated leather and then a silver stripe down below and contrast stitching. And then now inside the Nissan Ariya, keeping my foot on the brake, we can tap the power button, turn on the entire vehicle. You have a cool animation as well. Along the steering wheel, we get the Nissan badge, and then on the left side, you're going to see some Bluetooth and audio controls and controls for the screen. Then you have all your cruise control settings over on the right side. So if we take a look at the instrument cluster right in the center, we have a screen that'll pop up right now. We can exit out of there. You can scroll up and down and then left and right and see all sorts of different items. We have our home menu right there, and then you're going to see a few more trip information, car information as well. If I tap this icon, we can change the view as well, so we can get a little bit more larger screen design with a lot more information in a bigger view. So pretty cool design the way everything works. You have all sorts of different settings that it's going to pop up as well. Make this pretty easy to operate. On the right stalk, you're going to see all the controls for the windshield wipers, and then over on the left side, you're going to see headlight controls and turn signal. To the left of the steering wheel, we just have a few controls, steering intervention, heads-up display you're able to adjust, tailgate release, one of your air vents, and then I like how you have the smooth material across the dashboard with more of that leatherette. You can see some stitching, a nice bronze trim piece connecting all the air vents, and then this wood color material is going to house a bunch of buttons. Now these are all flat, you can't feel anything unless you actually tap them. So pretty cool the way everything is laid out. We can do our fan speed and temperature from it. On the home screen, we have a lot of information that will pop up. You can swipe over. This is Nissan's newest design, so you do have a pretty good design for all the tiles. We have shortcuts on this left side as well. You can pop up into notifications, full screen nav, phone integration, audio, and then tapping that you get into your climate. So now you have all of your controls right up here, temperature, different zones. You can see your heated seats, a few more items down below. So like a lot of modern cars, you kind of have to go into it to get to the main screen, but at least they do give you the physical controls down below. Now these ones, you kind of have to press it hard in a weird spot, so it takes some getting used to. I'm not the biggest fan how there's no real tactile feedback to them, but nonetheless, at least you have them here. You also have your volume control along with hazards right in the center, and then electronic parking brake. And then as for the glove boxes, on the right side, you can press this one. It opens up like your typical vehicle. And then down below, you have a button right here. If I hold this one, you can open up this center one. You're gonna have a nice little tray here that you can also push out of the way and use that for even more storage. So pretty cool design. And then on this console itself, you're able to move it. So if I press this button, I can slide this very far back. Just depends on how I guess you want your armrest to be, or the rear seat passengers, how they want everything to be. So a little bit interesting. You can get a better look at that. And then right here, you can slide this back. We have two cup holders. We have our drive mode select. You can toggle. You have your eco, standard, and sport. And then back in the center, we also have, this is for the one pedal driving, and then we also have the auto parking. Now, if we go ahead and slide this back forward to get a better reach of the center console, you can see more of that bronze design for the armrest. We can open this up and you have our wireless phone charging pad. One last look at the interior. Pretty nice looking design. Just the smooth materials. It's a very clean layout for a car. Pretty cool looking. We have a light colored headliner with a massive panoramic sunroof. You have your sunshade up here as well, along with the glass. And then we have a sunglass holder, and your rear view mirror has the typical design, nice square shape to it. And then we have the LCD camera as well. Moving on to the rear seat space, you can grab the door handle, open it up. Door panel's finished off just like we saw up front with all the same materials, and then the rear seats have the smooth leatherette material with a little bit of that micro suede in the center. This can seat 3 people, and then in the center, you can pull this down. We have a nice armrest along with 2 cup holders, and then there's gonna be heated seats back here, USB plugs along with air vents, and then there are storage cubbies on the back side of these seats with a cool color texture to this fabric. From here, you're also able to grab these levers, and you can pull these seats down. They're gonna fold nice and flat to give you better cargo space and a good spot into the trunk. So sitting in the back seat of the Nissan Ariya at 5'11", I'm sitting here pretty comfortably. I have about an inch of headroom, and with the driver's seat at my height, my knees have a lot of room. My feet fit nicely under the seat as well. You have a pretty decent recline on these seats, good armrest on the left and the right side, and the fact that there are amenities like the heated seats and the air vents, it certainly makes it pretty practical. There's a lot of light let in here, especially with that panoramic roof, big windows all throughout. So overall, not too bad. If you are gonna use this for a genuine family vehicle, maybe 2 kids in the back or something, definitely a pretty practical option. Moving on to the cargo area, you can just press the button underneath the Nissan logo, and you have a power operated liftgate. So with the rear seats in the up position, you have 22.8 cubic feet of cargo space. With them down, it's gonna be about 59.7. There is a little cubby on the left side along with the right side, and the floor you can actually move. So you can totally lift that up and it reveals hidden storage space. So really cool design. We have the charge cables and everything in here. Of course, you can take all these out to really maximize how deep the floor is in this car. You're also gonna see a privacy cover that you can easily pop out and remove. And then from here, it's not too far to reach. We can pull these and get the second row down. Spring assisted to help you out a little bit. And then now you can see all the space we have in the back of this car. Of course, we have the power button right up there to go ahead and operate that down. And then one last look, folding nice and flat to really maximize all the cargo space in this electric car. All right, setting off in the Ariya, full throttle, in sport mode, and there's 55. not exactly the fastest thing out there. Of course, you can get more power and all-wheel drive. This one being right in the middle of the trim level, this is fine. I mean, it'll get up to speed like any typical person would expect. So I don't have any complaints overall. Of course, just fun factor, I wouldn't mind more power. But this is a pretty nice to drive vehicle. At my height and everything, I fit in it pretty good. I wouldn't mind being able to lower the seat a little bit. I do feel kind of tall in here. However, you do have a really good view around. Mirrors all do a great job. Of course, the camera does a pretty good job as well. However, I kind of like it without the camera sometimes. I'd really just say I'd only use the camera if you have people in the back, because the actual view out is actually really good. Good view out of the front. Over your left and right shoulder, honestly, no big deal. Now, the seat comfort. This is a really comfortable place to be. These seats have a lot of padding to them, good support. The only weird thing, the center armrest is higher up than the door armrest. So my arms feel a little lopsided when I'm resting my arms there. So that's a little interesting to get used to. But the overall driving, it's smooth. Very smooth to drive. You hear just a little wind noise, and that's about all the noise you hear in this car. It's very quiet, very composed feeling. Suspension absorbs bumps really well, and I like this steering input. Even though it's front wheel drive, you don't really get like torque steer or anything, probably because it doesn't have enough power to give you the torque steer, but it's peppy enough, and yet you're not getting that input in the steering wheel when you want to floor it. But it's a nice to drive car. It just feels pretty smooth. You can tell there is a little bit of that luxury aspect to this car, to where it just rides nice and smooth. There's other cars that are at this price point that drive kind of like your generic car. I feel like the Ariya does drive a step above. It feels really nice to be in. The materials you touch are also pretty good. While there's a lot of synthetic materials in this particular spec, they still feel good. My biggest complaint, I would say, these buttons, you kind of have to look at them and touch them. It's a little weird to get used to. You don't really always have to press it. You kind of can just tap it too. So it kind of has a learning curve, I would say, to use the touch sensitive buttons. I wouldn't mind, like I really like the volume dial right here. I wouldn't mind dials for temperature and fan speed. I think there'd be nothing wrong with that. You just, when you have to hit it many times to crank it up, that's when it gets a little annoying of having to tap a lot of times. And you're basically just tapping your finger on hard plastic, which isn't the most comfortable thing. So that's my biggest complaint, even though I like the fact that they are always here. A lot of cars you have to go into the screen to even get there. But I think from a driver's perspective, you know, the Ariya is going to be something very familiar. It's easy to drive. It doesn't feel big. It's just kind of normal to drive, and yet a relaxing place to be at the same time. Alright, so my honest thoughts, my perspective with the Nissan Ariya. I think overall, it's something you really can't complain about. I think it looks nice, looks like your normal crossover with a sporty, modern appearance, so no complaints there. The inside, it's a cool interior. It feels nice, it's well laid out. Not the biggest fan, like I said, of the touch-sensitive buttons. I feel like I end up pressing them way too hard. You really just kind of tap them. So to me, I feel like that's just slightly a distraction, because I don't know, it's almost like you have to learn how to press the button correctly rather than just having a dial where you can just crank it up. I like the simplicity of simple stuff like that. Nonetheless, it looks clean in here, it looks simple. The screen looks good, it's integrated well into the dash. I know not everyone likes single massive screens, but I think this one looks really good. And my favorite part would be the driving characteristics. I mean, even though this isn't really the fast one, I just got up to 40 miles an hour without even thinking, and it is a nice, comfortable drive. And I think when you're buying a car, one of the biggest things you should care about, honestly, is how it drives. So don't look around, you know, pressing the buttons, touching things, but just the driving aspect. How does it feel when you're just staring out the windshield, not really looking around the car? And this is one of the cars that just rides smooth. The suspension's nice and comfortable. It's pretty quiet in here. And it's just an easy car to get used to. The shifter works like your typical car, so there's not really much in here you have to learn how to do, aside from pressing the touch-sensitive buttons. But the driving characteristics are just nice and normal, and the ergonomics are pretty good, aside from a little bit of a lopsided center console, a little weird. I will say I feel like there are some things in this car that don't really need to be here, like the console that does this. I don't know the true point. I mean, it's cool to say it does this. I mean, I don't know. It's a neat thing, obviously, depending on how tall you are. Like, that's not going to work for me because my armrest is now out of the way. So just some things that could be maybe a little bit too engineered that don't need to be like that, like the center thing. Again, you got to look down, take your eyes off the road just to open that to get your console storage. So anyway, little things like that are a little interesting. But I think fundamentally though, if you want a nice driving car that's just easy to use and spacious, you know, this is a roomy front seat, a roomy back seat, and plenty of cargo space. This is definitely a crossover that can kind of just do that. It can be useful. It can be used from the day-to-day. Range is decent. You know, I'm at 52% left, and I have 144 miles of range. So you're getting close to 300 on a charge, which isn't really all too bad in the real world. And that is with me driving it like I drive, which is flooring it a lot just to test out the power. So I think it's a pretty practical and economical choice. And at the price point of 50 grand, this is right in the middle. So you can get a nicer version. You can also get a more simple version too, depending on your budget and your desires. So I think they priced it pretty well to where it doesn't really feel like it's too expensive. Obviously prices these days are a lot more than they used to be, especially 4 years ago. Last 4 years have been crazy on pricing, but I feel like for an electric car, which usually are significantly more expensive than the gas ones, this one doesn't really feel like it would be all too much more than a gas version of a similar car. So not bad for an electric car, I think. And if you're looking for just a good all-around EV, this is definitely something to take into consideration. So those are my thoughts with the 2024 Nissan Ariya, the Empower Plus front-wheel drive. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next video.